Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Blues Talk. Again, John, Dave, and myself are going to look back over the two semi-finals of the Pro 12. Also look forward to Ireland's match against the Babas on Thursday, and of course look forward to the Pro 12 final on the weekend. Well, boys, two pretty good games. Big close games. Last minute, kind of decided both matches.
Very exciting games.
Compared to the Premiership.
Compared to the Premiership games, yeah, they were. Again, games that went right to the very wire. With, you know, is it or isn't it decisions in both. It was certainly exciting for the viewer, and maybe not so exciting for the coaches or the players involved. They probably could have done with something a little less exciting, but bring it on.
Yeah, Ulster conspired to lose, and Munster almost conspired to lose. Like you know,
they both did their best, but only Ulster succeeded.
There's been a lot of talk about how far back you can go, and you can only go back two phases. And if the try hadn't been conceded so fast in the Munster game, they mightn't have been able to go back to look at the knock-on because you can't go back more than two phases. So all they had to do was pick and jam a couple of times, and they would have won the game. If they got
Munster's
over,
incompetency got them to the final, literally.
I don't know. They played a good game. They deserved to win, but they just let it go at towards the end of the game.
I think Keighley got 5 out of 7.
Yeah,
like that's. And then, of course, Hanrahan missed one as well. So, like, it wasn't just...
Because the statistic that Munster have lost is 8 out of 9 or 9 out of 10 semis since 2009.
It's crazy, isn't it?
You know, there's a reason why that happens. And there's a reason why...
Because they were all away in France.
Yeah. And there's a reason why eventually it turns around. Maybe this is the year it turns around. Are Glasgow any great shakes? It's hard to know.
They're great. They beat Ulster. But they also have their injury problems, and that might be their undoing. But like they've got a great. Actually, there was 2 Canadian wingers on show, and one in each semi-final. Hassler and DTH, like 2 cracking players. I'm just thinking about Ireland in the World Cup with those 2 lads running at you. They're tough, and what's the word for them? Hassler scored a great try for Ospreys during their comeback. I'm kind of waiting for you to get your teeth into CJ Standard for that pass.
It's sloppy. It happens at the back of a scrum. I mean,
it was sloppy.
Do it. But the really good players don't do it.
He was unsighted.
Other players do.
He was unsighted, and your man got up damn quick. But you know, should you pass round the side of a scrum if you are unsighted? I suppose. But
he did a lot bit more good things than bad things.
He did an awful lot more good things, which was what I was going to counter Dave with when he started slagging him. But we've blown it now.
Sorry. Well, I suppose Munster do have like a cause célèbre because O'Connell's kind of come out now and said that
he's going to come out.
The weekend,
you can say that to him.
Referendum, wasn't it?
The weekend that's in it, he might as well.
Jesus.
Jay, have you just outed Paul O'Connell?
I have his address. Paul.
Well, he gave a big hint that he was going to retire.
Yeah.
Which is
maybe not.
Well, maybe not, but he did he said like it was probably going to be his last game in Thomond, which
he's going to stop playing for Munster.
Yeah, okay. Like, well, look, I think O'Driscoll did say that I thought he was kind of clearing the path a little bit and making kind of breaking the ground a little bit.
If O'Connell goes, we don't know if he's going to go. We don't know if he's going to retire. I mean, he's playing his cards very close to his chest. Yeah,
well, he obviously doesn't want a fuss made with because he
I'd say he's still negotiating, to be honest.
Yeah, but I mean, he didn't come out and say beforehand. He obviously knew that it was probably going to be the last time in Thomond Park.
The players clearly knew because they formed a guard of honour. And if you think back to, say, the match in the Aviva Stadium, the last match in the Aviva Stadium, like, he had his kid, Paddy, out with him in his arms. He did, I wouldn't say a lap of honour, but he certainly took in the sights. And then, there was a big foo-fa of a maid walking down the tunnel.
Maybe the RFU doesn't want a big deal made out of it.
I'd say it's Paul doesn't want to.
Well, it's possibly Paul, but the RFU might, a Paul O'Connell last ever game in the Aviva would be a big seller.
Yeah, it's happening the 29th of August.
And it's happening, but in a game that traditionally mightn't be that big a seller.
Yeah.
So it might have put 20,000 bums on seats.
Yeah.
And that'd be good. I mean, it'd be great if he got a full house in the Aviva in the green jersey to say goodbye.
Against Wales.
I mean, it would be good. Against the classic, if you like, the classic opposition as well. That'd be nice. We'll get back to Saturday.
Yeah.
Munster.
That was a long diversion, wasn't it?
Munster they've queries over, I think it's 3 players, Zebo, O'Mahony and
Conor Murray's definitely gone, I'd say.
Is he definitely? Murray's a huge loss to them.
Like, there was talk that when he came off the pitch
that it might have been quite serious.
Well, the guys on the commentary team were saying that Mick O'Driscoll was saying that it was cruciate.
He was, yeah.
So, like, if it's the cruciate, there's
no chance.
World
touch and go for the World Cup.
Yeah.
If it's cruciate, he's no chance for that. If it's not, you see, we don't know. He could have. When the swelling goes down, you have a scan, etc. I mean, of the three absencees, I mean, I'm not slagging off Zebo by saying this, that Murray and O'Mahony are the two most serious ones, because they're obviously core players.
I think I read something just before we started this that Zebo and O'Mahony were looking more likely to play.
Yeah, that's the case. I think that Conor Murray, though, if there's even a hint of doubt, he's not going to play. I mean, the World Cup is him and Sexton for the World Cup are probably the two most important players.
I said it before. Everything in Irish rugby is subservient to the World Cup until we win it.
Rightly so. In fairness,
in October.
If it was Leinster in the final,
I mean that's
I'd be
just
just
the way it
as
is.
happy to see if it was Johnny Sexton.
I mean, we've often
just
complained.
as happy to see him rested.
We've often complained in the past about, the RFU having a bit of an easy-ozy attitude to the World Cup, in that, it's nice and it's the World Cup and all that, but it does cost us $2 million a year kind of thing.
I think Joe Schmidt has changed that.
Joe Schmidt has changed that attitude because he sees this as a tournament that we can actually win. And I believe we can actually win it. I believe we're going to win it.
When you say it costs $2 million, like, the fact is that because Ireland is a winning team now, people are going to these matches, and these two matches in the summer that are going to be
could
in the
be
Aviva,
full houses.
could well be full houses. And, like, think of it, last year there was 2 full houses, but there was also the match against Georgia where it's far from, like, even half full.
Yeah.
Well, the opposition is good.
Well, you're talking Six Nations quality opposition.
If you make one of them, like I was saying, the Paul O'Connell farewell match, you fill the place. You might actually turn a profit on the World Cup, which would be unheard of.
I'm glad I bought tickets now the other day.
But it's going to be interesting to see how Munster, if they lose Murray, what will happen, because without Murray and with Keighley not playing so well, I wonder if the loss of Murray had an effect on Keighley.
Well, also it probably did indeed. Also, Duncan Williams, he's improved a lot from where he was, but like
he's a guy that none of their fans have any respect for whatsoever.
No, he's improved a lot, but he's still.
But he knows
way off Murray.
His days are numbered there as well, because Thomas O'Leary is coming back from London Irish.
So
do they still have Cathal Sheridan?
Oh, I'm not sure.
He was a player I thought had real prospects.
Yeah, there was talk of him going to Connacht. Actually, remember we saw him in
Connacht that time,
with all the lads at the So I don't know. He looked to be ahead of Williams at one point, and then Williams seemed to come back in. But going up against Glasgow with Madawalu or Pyrgos or whoever they're going to have, probably Pyrgos at scrum half. You'd want Conor Murray. You really would. And with all the injuries Glasgow have, they're still a fairly fearsome. Okay, they were at home to Ulster, but still, Ulster were really psyched up for that game. They had that, I think we said last week, about the way they rested the players, a bit reminiscent of us in Thomond Park before the 09 Croker semi-final, and it really looked during the game that they had it sewn up, but they just. Well, in fairness, I give it to Glasgow for taking it rather than Ulster for losing
it was a
it.
Fantastic pass for the try in the last minute, like a fabulous pass. But there was 3 incidents in the 3 matches, like the other match being the Gloucester Connacht match, which we'll talk about. But once again, rugby is blighted by having referees
making these big calls. Like, the game should be about the 30 guys on the pitch, not the officials. And once again, you had George Clancy been duped into giving a penalty, like when Madawalu jumped into Tommy Bowe, was it?
Yeah.
No, it was actually the prop.
You're going to have to narrow it down. Madawalu did an awful lot of.
Are you talking about the clothesline thing?
No, when he
play acted.
No, there was a crossfield kick.
He did. Madawalu did an awful lot of play acting. I mean, a stronger ref. Well, you see.
Well, it's all right. He's gone to Gloucester.
That was one. Then you had Nigel Owens going back a number of plays for the. Now, I thought that was a great decision actually, because at least he didn't award a try, and he was willing to.
He wanted to see what
happened. And then you had, obviously, we'll talk about that in a bit more detail, but Watt made some horrendous calls on both ways. Like, it wasn't just all negative towards Connacht, although it seemed to be the majority.
Well, we're talking about Gorgeous George Clancy. We're talking about Roman Watt. We're talking about Nigel Owens. Who got the call right? Nigel, yeah. That's the thing, I mean, sometimes you do have to put up with a certain idiosyncrasy sometimes, but he gets it right.
But if
that's
you
the important thing.
like, you know, people always say, "Oh, well, rugby's such a technical game that it's, you know, there's so many calls to be made," and that's true. But look at American football; it's equally as technical. But no one would even know the names of the American football referees. I know there's loads of them, but like they make a call based on what they see, rather than a personality call, or I interpret this rule differently than.
Well, is it that we don't know the names of the refs because we have that distance from the game?
One thing I'll tell you is that you never hear if you read or if you even during the time of the playoffs or the Super Bowl, you never hear them going, "Oh, this guy is officiating, and there could be problems here because of the way he interprets whatever."
Pardon my complete ignorance of American football, but do they not have more than one?
They do.
ref?
They do. Yeah. But,
Yeah,
but they also have
there's a referee,
two touch judges
and
they
two
have
umpires and a referee.
But like
Well, there you go.
in rugby union, they have two touch judges, a referee,
A TMO.
and a TMO. So they also have an officiating team. And at the same time, that our sport is being run by the egos of, or the incompetence or whatever, by a small number of officials. And it shouldn't be about them. It should be about the 15 guys. And like going back years ago, you know, you'd often hear commentators saying, "Oh, but he was a good official because we never saw him," or "he never."
Yeah.
I mean, like going back whatever 10, 15, 20 years ago, you never would have known the name of the referees. Now, do you know the names of any of the soccer referees?
Yeah, most of the major ones you would.
Would
do.
you?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. You would. No, seriously, you would know the names of if you like all the Premier League referees, and you'd go, "Oh God, we've got Clattenburg on Saturday," and there would be that element to it. I don't know about American football. I watch it sometimes when it's on Sky, but it's only kind of a flip through thing. I don't really watch a lot of American football, so I would know the teams. I do know some of the umpires in baseball, and I do know that there's one or two guys. This guy will have a narrow strike zone. This guy will have a wide strike zone. It's very important in baseball, actually, to know what the home plate umpire is like. So that's kind of a thing. In other sports, I don't know because I don't pay much attention. I mean, I don't know the names of the referees in tennis or golf or whatever. So
if you look at rugby league, which is arguably a less
Bill Harrigan.
a less complex game than rugby union, they have two referees and two touch judges, and they have a TMO as well, I think. So, you know,
Didn't know they had two refs.
I think they do, yeah.
They have two refs for cross equator matches.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I thought they all had two refs.
No, not for Super League. They don't know.
Okay.
No, for Super League and for NRL they don't. But when Super
Again,
League plays
pardon
NRL,
my
they have
ignorance
two.
of rugby league, but you know, it's a less complex game because you know it's a little bit
less
more
technical.
Less technical. It's more one dimensional. It's not the amount of set pieces. You know.
I can't believe you're trying to defend this. I can't believe you're trying to make an argument.
no,
against
we're
it.
I'm trying to argue that maybe there should be another ref.
Well, perhaps they should.
Perhaps.
Is what I'm trying
Well, what
to
the
say.
thing is, I mean, ultimately, the guy who's if you like, the biggest personality is also the best ref. I mean, we constantly talk about yet another Nigel Owens referee classic.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. He is very good. I mean, he does understand the game. Maybe because he might have been a good player before he got his injury or whatever. I don't know, but he has an appreciation for the game. He has an understanding for the game. I don't think Broman Poit does. I certainly don't think George Clancy does. And you can see, there are other referees. I mean, there was Kaplan was a very good referee as well.
These guys are
Roland.
consistently getting the big games. I mean, like, you know, you couldn't get bigger games in the Pro 12. You got the two Pro 12 playoff matches. Okay, I know the Gloucester Connacht match wouldn't necessarily be the ultimate fixture, but
Still
it's
a
a
top
fairly,
match, yeah.
fairly big fixture
But
within the
Roman
European
Poit
Cup.
is a big ref. Like they're all
He
on
did
the
European
international
finals, but like,
George Clancy's on the panel.
I can't understand. I never a game that Clancy refs is always a game I dread watching.
but it's not just him. I mean, like, there is plenty of other referees that are equally as rubbish.
Yeah, but
Well, the problem is name all these referees who should be there instead. That's the real problem.
well,
You know? It's a thankless job.
No, it's
B-
not a thankless job. It's a very lucrative and well paid
But-
position, and you know it's not thankless.
Name
Like,
a referee.
The guy refereeing a J4 match in Coolmine that's a thankless role. But
Mm-hmm.
the guy going and becoming a professional referee that is, you know, going around the world and doing an international match in the Tri Nations or a Super 15 game, it's not a thankless.
Yeah, but he starts out doing the
He
equivalent
does,
to
he
J4.
does.
The problem is that you know you have a panel of international referees at the top level, of which Poit is actually one. I don't think Clancy's one.
He certainly was until very recently.
You've got obviously you've got Nigel Owens, you've got Wayne Barnes, and others of
Another
that.
doozy.
Yeah.
But there you go. Who are these great refs that are not making it in?
Well, I tell you what you could do. The IRB or the head of the international
World
head,
Rugby.
no, sorry, the officials from rugby, from refereeing, could say it's not acceptable to have these decisions. I mean, look what happened to say Lamb was the one who got in trouble for the Connacht Cardiff match when it was clearly a dreadful error from Leighton.
Yeah, but he didn't get his fingers slapped because he was wrong. He got his fingers slapped because he didn't go to the channels to do it.
I appreciate that.
There are ways and means,
But
I can understand. Pat
surely
Lam's
it should be.
Absolutely.
Surely it should be the referees that are getting their knuckles wrapped and said another performance like this, and you ain't refereeing at this level again.
Maybe they do. I'm sure they must do
Well,
to some
they're
degree.
all the same guys are still refereeing week in, week out, and season after season.
Guys do get dropped up and dropped down. I've seen it happen.
Okay, there has been a few.
The question is, at what point does it happen? I mean, I don't mind refs making a mistake. Everybody makes a mistake. Players make mistakes, supporters make mistakes, and if a ref makes a material error in fact that changes the result of a match, that's got to be looked at by the authorities.
And who says it isn't?
Now, there is a process where referees are constantly under review. What's his name? The Kiwi fellow with the Irish name.
O'Brien.
Paddy O'Brien was the head of the refereeing. I think he stepped down. I think there's somebody else in charge now. But it's somebody of similar stature.
Faceless O'Reilly.
Yeah, it's somebody of similar stature. I just can't remember off the top of my head who it is.
French guy.
But they do go. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's. I want to say Jerome Garces, but it's not. It's his predecessor as the top French referee. Yeah, but anyway,
And it was like there was talk that it would have been, who's the Irish guy that retired?
Roland.
Not Roland before him.
Louis.
Louis. It was talk it was going to be Louis, and it went to the French.
You see, I think we're going down a way in rugby that might be actually a positive way because it's different than soccer. Currently got you've got Roland who's retired, you've got Glenn Jackson who's refereeing on the English panel, you've got John Lacey who's refereeing on the Irish panel.
Jackson has promise, although he's had a few games that were shocking, but you know
if we can get to a situation where guys are reffing at a level that they actually played at, I think that's beneficial to the game.
Well, Glenn Jackson was at the top level. He wasn't
Glenn Jackson was
quite international,
but he was at the highest level. He played the highest level of European rugby.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know about Roland. John Tracy played the highest level for Munster. John Lacey, sorry, not John Tracy. John Tracy ran for Munster. John Lacey played at the highest level for Munster, and I don't think it's a fluke that John Lacey is the best of the new batch of referees. I don't think that's any coincidence.
It's because he was a winger and he's fast enough to keep
He's
up with
able to keep up with play, which is always a benefit. But you know, it's. I don't like blaming referees unless it's George Clancy, but in this case, he's not the worst of them.
No, well, look, the only point I'm trying to make here is one: is there a case for having two referees with, with responsibility for different areas of the game, on different sides of the pitch or in different areas of the pitch?
Actually heard a GA referee talking only during the week about the international rules.
They have two refs.
And they have two refs, and he was saying he found it difficult because
they're getting in each other's way.
No, because they kind of one ref said one half the pitch and the other ref the other half the pitch.
Right.
But he said he did find it difficult because they were kind of looking for different things. Again, as interpretation, so
that's got to be a problem. Yeah.
There's one set of interpretations and one half the pitch.
That's why you got to have responsibility for different areas of the game. Maybe a scrum guy, guy for set pieces, a guy for loose play. I don't know what way you break it.
Two good refs like John Lacey and Nigel Owen both actually have a very different approach to the ruck. Right? John Lacey wants you when there's a ruck, it's hands off immediately. You do not get it.
Yeah.
Whereas Nigel Owens lets you have one dab.
Yeah. But surely
so you get that kind of different.
But then surely World Rugby needs to say, sorry guys, this is the interpretation, and this is the only way, and anything else has got not the way you think it should be played, and I think it should be played a bit different. It should be only one way. But
it is complex
because
game, though.
I mean, look, we should talk about the Gloucester Connacht game because there was a decision that happened in the 79th minute. When Connacht went in with the ball, a guy came through, lay on the wrong side, didn't make any effort to get away.
I think 6'6".
You only miss it.
And Pot gave a penalty against Connacht.
I still don't know what that was for.
And that not only losing a match
He was a real blitzkrieg boff, that was. Go on.
Whatever about losing the match. They've also lost the opportunity of playing in the European Champions Cup. They've lost the opportunity of the money that comes in, and more importantly, they probably will have to tone down who they're going to go for in the transfer
Or
market.
overpay.
Or
who they're-
overpay
yeah.
them.
No, I agree with you entirely. I mean, it was a huge decision. I mean, and the thing is, he made the same decision in extra time as well.
Yeah,
And got it
it's the other way around.
the other way around. I'm always the guy fucked up the match. I mean, his decision to. I mean, you have a different. I mean, we were discussing this earlier, and you think Connacht should have just leaded the ball down the other end of the park anyway, which is a valid point of view. I mean, from a management point of view, they should have the game should have been played in Bath's 20 or in Gloucester's 22 if they could manage it. But at the end of the day, you have to trust that the referee will actually knows the laws of the game.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I
and
agree.
he didn't.
I agree, but my point would have been that if you start playing around with the ball in your own danger zone, there's an opportunity that you could get turned over, you could get legitimately penalised,
Knocked on or something.
knocked
Yeah.
on, whatever you
Yeah.
do. Whereas if you put the ball down in their half, give them the ball, defend. It's the easiest thing in the world to get in a line and start tackling, and make sure that put them under the pressure, force them to try and make the mistake in that they've got 30 seconds to go. But unfortunately, they didn't do.
Both points of view are valid, and that's the thing. I mean, there's no black and white. The other thing is what compounded his error. Now, I think there's only a highlight on it because of the original decision. I don't think the player who was being obstructed would have been able to make the tackle, but he was blatantly held back. It's obvious he's been held back. Now, I don't think he could have made the tackle, so you have to question whether that was enough to disallow the try. But it wasn't even mentioned as a thing.
Sickening and all as it was to see Connacht robbed at the end of that game. It was their best season to date. They came 7th, they won 10 games or 11 games or whatever, and they really are on a charge. And they were I thought they had that game in the bag. I really did. I mean, it shouldn't have gone into extra time. We've just been over that. But even in the extra time, they looked good until the quite near the end. And when you've got a guy like Johnny May running against you, the talent and the money that are in that Gloucester team, from David Humphreys to John Afoa to Johnny May, all these characters. Okay, they're 9th in the Premiership. They won the Challenge Cup. They're a serious side with serious money, and for Connacht to stand up and serious aspirations, and for Connacht to stand up to those guys and come within a gnat's measure of beating them.
Well, one thing I was thinking about was there's a lot of talk about the World Cup squad about will he take or will he take Earls, or will he take Fitz, or will he take whoever on the wing. I think he might be taking Healy.
Matt Healy, yeah.
I think that's the guy because at the end of the season he's the guy who's playing on top of the ground and playing really, really well in defence and attack.
But I think the one guy that stood out for me was Henshaw. You could see
Class
he has changed this season from being a guy that wasn't probably sure of his Ireland place or wasn't even getting in his Ireland place this time last year. With O'Driscoll and
First
Darcy
name
kind
on
of gone,
team sheet.
He's certainly nailed on. If we
is-
played in the World Cup final tomorrow, he would be.
Oh, you're talking.
on the team
He's
sheet.
Sonny Bill Williams.
But the thing about him was we for years we went through. Oh, look at how many meters Darcy makes in the contact. Like if Darcy made 5, he makes 10.
No, yeah, he's
Like-
superb. He's
And he can offload like Sonny Bill.
He's the really irritating thing is he's not in Europe next year.
Yeah.
Because the more he plays at the higher level, every time he plays the top level game, he looks better.
Yeah.
He's an immense talent. He really,
It's hard
really
to
is.
believe
Yeah.
he's the age he is, and the physicality of the guy as well. I mean, these are some big lads he's gone up against, and
Not compared to him, though. No.
never. He's not that. I mean,
He's a big guy.
He's big. He's not as big as George North, for example. He's not as big as lots of guys. Not as big as most of the forwards, but he can take some hacking for a 21-year-old guy. Like, you do toughen up into your mid-20s. Like, a 21-year-old guy is never as tough as the same guy at 25. Just that extra 4 years of getting the head smacked
He's
off
going to
you.
be nails.
He's gonna be an absolute teak by the time he's 25.
But apart from that, I mean, the one area where he's not made out of wood is his head.
No,
because he
he's got
plays
that as well,
very
yeah.
intelligent rugby.
Yeah.
Very intelligent.
I wonder if he's going to get frustrated. Like there was one lovely break that he made, and he passed to the into the left hand side, and Porter, all he had to do was catch the ball, and
Yeah,
he caught
that
it.
was a lovely.
Yeah.
He made break down the centre of the pitch.
But I'm sure he's going to get frustrated and saying like he's head and shoulders above anyone else in that team, and going, Jesus, what do I need to do?
Well,
Whereas-
Yaki's good partner for
Oh,
him.
he is.
See, I think
absolutely
the thing
is,
is he's grand when he's with the first 15, as it were. How often Connacht can get that first 15 on the pitch, and how often they can stay on the pitch fit, is an issue. I mean, if that had been, say, John Cooney running through, or even Kieran Marmion running through,
Yeah.
might have held that ball.
Yeah,
Remember, Ian Porter is their third choice scrum half. You know.
Yeah.
I know, but he's a professional rugby
Oh, I know. But what I'm saying is, you know, if he's playing well with Connacht, I mean, I don't know. The IFU may move him next year. I mean, we've all talked about rumours about him coming to Leinster and stuff, but they may decide to move him for a year anyway. Of course, then the thing is, will Connacht get into Europe without him?
Yeah, I'd be inclined to see him, let him see out his contract
I
there, and
think-
then see what happens if he doesn't. If they don't make Europe next year, maybe think about.
I think it
moving
sends
him.
out a very bad message to
Does.
Connacht that if
Yeah.
you're good, you're going to be moved, as opposed to in a year's time when his contract's up, he can say, well, you know what, I've given it 3 years, we didn't really do what I hope we do, and now it's time to either go to Leinster, Munster, or Stade Francais or whoever.
The other thing is we've got, you know, we've gone from a country that had maybe 25 good players to a country that's got almost 50 good players. We've just about got enough for 4 really top teams now. You know, I mean, if we do what Nusafora is supposed to be doing and shovel the guys around a little bit so as that, you know, Leinster get a scrum half, Ulster get some back rowers, Munster have centres now, but Munster get whatever Munster are short of, and Connacht get
I'm sure Munster will get whatever they want.
what they're short of. Do you want a chip for the other chip?
Might balance it off.
You know, we could easily have Connacht as, you know, a top challenger, and I think that's the IRFU. I hope that's the IRFU's
Well, obviously, you
plan.
need as many teams as possible to have as many players as possible.
Exactly.
But the question is, will Joe? If we don't win the World Cup, I genuinely believe we're going to win the World Cup. I just have that much faith in the team and the coach and what he's doing.
Well, it'd be a disaster if we don't, Dave.
Yeah, I would
no
say,
pressure,
But if we
lads.
don't win the World Cup, he might switch priorities, and obviously he'll want to win a back-to-back, 3 in a row in the Six Nations.
Grand Slam maybe, because
Yeah.
he hasn't done that.
So the question will be how much will he be prepared? I mean, I remember Clive Woodward complaining about not getting, but Johnny Wilkinson not playing European rugby when he was
Yeah.
there.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And he felt it was a hindrance to him. It took him a lot longer when he was in camp to get up to speed than the other players.
Yeah.
Oh, there's definitely an argument for
Yeah.
that, and I mean, you know, it would have been an ideal situation if Connacht had got in, and
Yeah.
now they're going to play in Challenge Cup, which is clearly
There's still Pro 12 in it though, and there's you know there's a fair few decent teams in the Pro 12 that'll give them a run. And if Connacht are as competitive, they could be challenging for top 4. They certainly should be challenging for top 6.
This year they didn't succeed, but I mean they will have learnt a lot. They will have deepened their squad a lot, so that in the same position next year, because they kind of fell off towards the end of the season. They had a lot of injuries and so over a certain amount of injuries in key positions. That the squad depth that they developed this year through those injuries will stand them in good stead next year if the same thing happens.
And the Challenge Cup winner is going through automatically next year as well. There's no playoffs
Until they change it.
because of the World Cup. Well, the following year there's going to be 2 Pro 12 teams in the playoffs.
Until they
apparently.
change it.
They may change it between then and now, but as it stands,
they might just move it from 20 to 24 player teams in it as well.
and Leo Honey can be the main sponsor. Who knows?
Well, on Thursday the Babas play in.
Just one thing I thought was very funny was all the Gloucester fans who'd left.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then
They
trying to
gone
get
home
back
and
in.
thought they'd lost. Yeah, excellent.
Well, the Babas play, like last time I think we played the Babas, or we certainly played them over in Gloucester's grounds. We're playing them in Thomond this time.
Played them in Thomond last time. So
I
we
think we
played.
did,
You
yeah.
did, yeah.
Yeah.
We've played them since, yeah.
But there's a rake of uncapped Leinster and Ulster guys
Yeah,
playing within the team, which is good to see. Again, you mentioned squad depth. Like it's
yeah.
another opportunity for Joe to get those players and put them into the Ireland environment.
Yeah, there's some obvious ones like Tyg Furlong, who's got to be knocking on the door for Ireland, and then some little bit out of left field ones like Benji Marshall, who appeared briefly, I believe, on the squad Connacht squad
Well,
list and then disappeared.
just as quickly.
The guy I've always liked, who never really got a look in until the very end of the season this year. But there's a guy who could make a name for himself if he got a shot. And there's a few of them. There's a few Ulster guys as well that could just add that little bit of depth around the fringes of the Irish team. That it's all good.
You look at the game, say, against Georgia, which is kind of almost an analogous game. When the guys who might have played in this game who played in that Georgia game aren't available this time around. Guys like Dave Foley, for example.
Yeah.
But there's guys who did play in that game, like Dominic Ryan, etc. And the equivalents thereof are in the squad. Again, it's actually interesting, but it's hard to know what you can make of this. I mean, it is an end of season Barbarians game. Well, one wonders what value it has.
Well, there was one theory that I heard, and was that if Leinster guys hadn't played any rugby, so if you give them a month off, they're coming back and they're getting their pre-seasons in 2 weeks or possibly 3 weeks prior to the Munster and the Ulster if they had got to the final. So it actually kind of would have evened out the season. That's why they've said to the Connacht guys, just knowing you're not going to decide to pick you, just give you
so basically the idea is they have everyone cooking at the same time.
Yeah, and everyone's going to be on leave at the same time, and everyone's going to come back in at the same time.
Well, that makes sense because pretty much everyone who's involved in Irish rugby has something to do over the summer. If you're 19 years old and up and a professional rugby player in Ireland, you're doing something over the summer. Whether you're going to the World Cup, or you're going to Tbilisi, or you're playing in the warm-ups for the other World Cup. It's actually a nice distribution of resources this summer for the IRFU.
And the 20s as well.
That's what I meant, the under 20s World. There was a World Championship rather than the World Cup,
So, there's a couple of, Shane Jennings, of course, is going to captain that, and there's a few.
Yeah, that's quite good honour for him, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
I don't think he's played for the Barbarians before.
I wouldn't say many of them.
No, he hasn't, no.
Just because they're playing when the Barbarians play a lot of their matches during the season, and Leinster ain't going to release them. I heard O'Driscoll, and he said he wouldn't play 3 times. Imagine O'Driscoll played, for 15 years and he played 3 times.
And they were all early in his career too.
He's called up 15 times, and he's only played about 3.
But there's a few other lads, Goppert, Kirshner, and Brad Thorne as well.
Yeah, good old Tony. He's taking a break. He's made I heard him interviewed a few weeks ago. He's made a vow to play rugby with all his 3 sons as they mature.
Really?
So he's going to be in his 50s by the time he finally hangs up the boots. But he's hanging up the pro boots for the moment anyway. And I think he's moving back to Brisbane and going to settle down with his family. 4 kids, I think, fairly young. So we'll see. Andy Farrell managed that one playing.
He did, he played with his son,
He played a pro game with, I think Owen Farrell was only 16 or so.
Did he?
Just before he retired.
The mad thing is that Farrell played in that famous match in Croke Park. That's not that long ago, It's only 07. And then his son is playing for Ireland now, or for England now, sorry.
Yeah. And he's a Farrell. Should be playing for Ireland, a name like that.
He could have been playing for Ireland indeed. Drew Amsterdam Street anyway. Well, no, it's going to be... it's good that the players are getting a run out. It's good to see all those guys coming to Ireland. And that's about all. Is there a value to the game itself? Will we actually learn anything from the match itself?
You'll probably get a few little things, like Rhys Ruddock will get a few minutes under his belt. You'll get a chance to look at Owen Redden and Paddy Jackson together. If they get a bit of time together, they could easily be starting the Canada game or the Romania game together. You don't know. There's a few guys like that
might give them a chance to go through some moves in training when they're in camp and just sort of get the...
Well, I'd say the real advantage isn't the match. I'd say the real advantage is the time spent together before and after.
And just doing a debrief from after. I wouldn't say that they met up since the Scotland match, so they'll probably just do a debrief. And
for guys to get a look at Joe Schmidt's way,
I'd say there's an awful lot of information to get over to an awful lot of players. So even if it's broken up like this, and then the emergent squad and then the thing, I'd say it's pretty important that he gets chances to do it.
But where the extra players are in the team are kind of second row, back row, and then in the centres. And everybody else, there's just enough players for the 23-man squad. The extra, I think there's 4 or 5 extra players, and that's where they are. So 2 of them, there's going to be a second rower and a back rower that miss out, and a couple of centres. But which guys they are, and guys like Collie O'Shea, who didn't get I know he was injured a lot, but he didn't get a look in at Leinster pretty much all season, and now he's he's playing for Ireland against the Barbarians. Okay, it's not a cap match, but you know that's pretty good achievement. And the same Ben Marshall, kind of similar. You've got Noel Reid, who kind of fell out of favour in Leinster for a while. Who again, I think he had a couple of niggles during the season. But like, there's a guy you could pair him up with one of the Ulster boys like McCluskey. I'd love to see McCluskey and Noel Reid together, because that's a real second 5/8 with a big lad outside him. You know,
Big clever lad.
big clever lad too. You know, I think he's a bit of a future in front of him, McCluskey.
Yeah,
he's
yes,
got.
yeah.
He's
I think
decent
himself
hands.
and Olding together be a nice partnership. A nice,
Similar kind of a
nicely
partnership,
dovetailed.
yeah. Reid and Olding are a bit more similar, kind of 10-12 players, you know. So yeah, interesting to look at all of that. But will Joe Schmidt learn a whole lot? Maybe not a massive amount, but you know, there's always stuff to learn.
He knows it all already.
Yeah,
John.
that's true. Yeah.
So, well, his previous club, we still haven't got any more info on who's going to replace Matt,
Matt O'Connor
except one of the 20 names that was.
has maybe ruled himself out, or maybe not.
And Dricko's ruled himself out.
Well, yeah.
I
I think he
would
ruled
like-
himself out about a year
I would
ago when
like
he
to
said he'd
rule
never
myself
wanted
out
to
as
coach.
well.
Robbie Dean's ruling himself out. Did he really? Who knows? Who knows? My
I'd say-
favourite is still Mackenzie. I think we said it
Yeah,
last week.
I don't think any coach, when asked about this, will ever rule themselves in or out of any job ever. Because you just don't want to do that.
No.
What you do is you give a non-denial, non-confirmational confirmation of a denial. That's basically what
Yeah.
you do.
So
I
who
mean,
knows?
even if a guy like Deans, who has other irons in his fire, has history with the establishment here as is or whatever, right? Still isn't going to say yay or nay. Somebody who's coming in as hot favourite, who might even has been told he's got the job, isn't going to say yay or nay.
Well, the other thing about it is, I
Talk
think
to
it
my
was
lawyers, talk to your lawyers.
Owen Redden said it in
Do lunch.
in the papers there today. He said whoever's coming in, we want the guy to be bursting to do the job. You don't want a guy. You don't want to be chasing after a guy who's going, oh yeah, maybe I will, maybe I won't. You want a guy who goes, yes, this is the job I want.
There's
I want
always
it
going to
now.
be phony wars, and people want to negotiate the best deal that they can. They
Of
ain't gonna-
course.
they ain't going to. But like,
But you want a guy who's got a plan. You don't want a guy, oh, we'll get that guy because he's got a big name, and then you get him in and he goes, well, yeah.
Do you know when we'll know who it is? When they announce it.
yeah.
Because I mean,
But
in
it's
fairness,
fun speculating.
Cheika wasn't the favourite.
No.
Everybody thought the job was going to John Callard.
Might just go for a safe pair of hands though after Matt, you know, rather than another.
Joe Schmidt wasn't the favourite. Everyone thought the game was going to go to what's his name? He's the assistant New Zealand coach. Is it Ian Foster? Ian Foster, the Australian. He's the assistant All Black coach at the moment. Anyway, everyone thought he was the favourite to get the job, and then Schmidt came from nowhere. So who knows? It could be. They may have to go for a safe pair of hands, but then they didn't after we had 3 coaches in 3 years. They didn't go for a safe pair of hands then. So
It's different era, Dave.
it's a different era with a different level of expectation. But you know, you never know. I'd like it to be you and Mackenzie. I really
The
would.
thing is that there's more and more kind of
Or
little-
David Rennie.
little
Or Rob
stories,
Baxter.
little stories leaking out in the press anyway, of some of the atmosphere that was in the squad, and this matey,
Yeah,
and you know, some of the senior guys going to him and saying, you have to be stricter on us, you have to be more dictatorial, and you
and
know,
he couldn't be, or he didn't.
it's not his nature maybe.
Yeah,
You know, like again, O'Driscoll was on last Friday, and he said, what a laugh I had him at
Yeah.
Jordan Murphy's wedding. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
he doesn't need to be your mate. He needs
yeah,
to be
like,
your
it's
kicking your
a
ass.
45-year-old man shouldn't really be hanging around with 25-year-old lads.
But
They
then,
should,
then on the other hand, this is the Arsene Wenger approach. You're a professional athlete. You're supposed to be a professional athlete.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
That's
there's
his
a huge element of that.
Arsenal don't do any fitness work, for example.
You're
There's no
supposed to do it
fitness work done
yourself.
by the club. You're a professional footballer. You're
they
supposed
must
to be
do
fit.
because
No,
they've
the club will
they've
provide.
2 strength and condition coaches
Jerry
and
Flannery.
former rugby
The
players.
club will provide trainers for you, but the club itself doesn't do any organised fitness work. There's no at 9 o'clock we are going to be doing laps. At 10 past 9 we are going to be. Arsenal doesn't. Wenger got rid of all that because his attitude is, you're a professional footballer. We'll provide you with coaches. You're supposed to be fit.
How many laps could you do between 9 and 10 past 9, Dave?
Of what?
Your bath.
Laps in the breakfast bar, as many as you need. But no, but whereas Manchester United, for example, Alex Ferguson was rigorous Players were strictly documented, everything, body mass index, all the modern stuff. That was very strictly documented by the club.
The bottom line, though, is when your squad are not like I said it on here, and we all said it. After the Munster game, Treviso game, the first game against the Dragons in the Six Nations during the Six Nations, all of those games, you've got to get the mindset of your players right. If you've got time, that's the coach's job, and everything else is secondary to that. And if you've got any kind of what's the word, disaffection in your squad, you've got to be able to go in there and kick ass. And if you can't do that, you're when he was in Leicester, he had Dick Cockbreath as his bad cop, and he was the good cop, and that probably worked fine. But now when he's the head coach, he doesn't have that experience of ass kicking.
The thing is,
you need one voice, and you need a guy to be saying, look, don't care about whatever your issue is, don't care about this, don't care about that. We're playing this game, and I want you right, and I want
all the players have come out and said all the players were happy with O'Connor, right? They've all said that. That's not necessarily a good thing. At least half the players should be unhappy with the coach.
Look at Cardiff Blues.
Yeah.
They're probably very happy now that they got rid of their coach.
Half the players should be unhappy with the coach because he's not picking them. They shouldn't be happy if they're not been picked. So I don't know. It's hard to know. I think that we got rid of one of the problems, but we still have an awful lot of problems left behind. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully whoever the new coach that's coming in is able to kick ass and able to cut through the bullshit and get the guys all pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, you kind of need someone to come in, as you said, like a man with a plan to come in with the whole blueprint of like what Jack kind of did, and just it might need just to rip everything you've done up and rip it up.
And it might have to be the old. I mean, I wouldn't do it as the way that Clough did it, but it might be the whole load of all those medals you won, chuck them in the bin because they don't mean anything to me, kind of thing. Because it should be a clean slate.
But that
whether he'd be strong enough to do that.
That seems to be the undercurrent that's coming out, is that the senior guys are a bit pissed off with the junior guys, that they think it's the 3 stars that you got there on the jersey. Well, we won them, you didn't, and you're not behaving like the guys.
But there could be also an element of like when Czechia came in, they were a team looking to win a major trophy. When Joe Schmidt came in, okay, they'd won a major trophy, but they weren't.
They were a team looking to go to the next level.
They were a team looking to go to the next level. When Matt O'Connor came in, they were on top of the fucking world. There's only one direction they could go.
Well, there was two. Well, the thing is, there was 2 directions they could go. Unfortunately, they picked down instead of sideways.
Well, you know yourself. You can't.
If you don't innovate, you're going backwards. Yeah,
exactly, and you can't stay at that level, no matter who you are, who's coaching you, what the play. You could have brought in a whole new squad of the top player. You could have taken Toulon's whole squad, and you wouldn't have replicated our season the following. After 11 and 12, you wouldn't.
I've never seen.
You see other teams, and even in different sports. They don't just. They kind of nearly have a whole. The team wins, and it wins a couple of league titles, and then like say Ferguson used to get rid of nearly half his team, and bring a whole lot of ruthless. Well, he was ruthless, but new hungry guys coming in,
younger guys, and keep the guys who still had the hunger. It's a good thing you mentioned other sports, because I was just going to mention the most sought. I've never seen a club seek a prize the way that Real Madrid sought their 10th European Cup, La Decima as they call it. They were obsessed with it. They were obsessed with it for years. They sacked coaches after. Coaches could win the double in Spain, but if they didn't win the European Cup, it wasn't enough.
Another one today.
And then, what did he win last season? He won their 10th European Cup. He got them to the promised land, the most important thing in their club's history, and they sacked him today because Barcelona won the league. I mean, it's eating bread is soon forgotten in professional sports.
Absolutely,
and.
But I think what he's the position that you're in, you can't, like I said, you can't expect to win to keep at that level forever. But there's so many imponderables in a squad of perhaps 80 people, including your coaches, your academy, your main player squad. There's so many little relationships in there. There's so many. I don't like this guy doesn't like this. If you can't go in there and pull all of those guys into the right direction, you're going nowhere. And we need somebody who can do that, who can go in and talk to everybody from the physio to the tea lady to the star player.
There's no
And
there's a lovely coffee machine there.
if Leinster guys are have notions about themselves and think they're better than their coach, or think they're, that's when you've gone to hell.
I think something else that's important in a coach and shouldn't be forgotten is the ability to work within the Irish system, which is a unique system.
Yeah.
It's
Another thing Matt O'Connor didn't
and
excel at.
That was something he didn't do. I don't think anyone could say that he enjoyed working within the Irish system, or managed to overcome the problems of working within it. And it is a kind of a specialist skill. Maybe that's why we've been successful with Aussies and New Zealanders, because they do have a lot of
Union
parallels
mentality.
in their system. They do.
His coaching background came from England, really. Like, he was with Leicester for a long time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
5 years.
He didn't really have the skills of working in that system that, say, a Randwick coach would have, like Checo, or somebody who'd come up through the New Zealand ITM system like Schmidt. So I don't know. I mean, obviously there are lots of things that go, but it's something to bear in mind when we're talking about candidates for the Leinster job. How many of them have successfully worked within
A union stricture.
structure?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, boys, fascinating as ever. Thanks very much, and thanks very much for watching. Cheers.